Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions concerning this watch. It's been a long time since I've seen this old friend. One of the first watches I reviewed back in the Watch You Want days. This is the Hublot King Power Tourbillon GMT. Came out in 2010. 28 pieces were made, as you see here, in King Red Gold. This is an extraordinary example of an Hublot that is both large and fine. A lot of times when we think of Hublot, we think of a sort of fashion-first watch, whereas here we have undoubted brains as well as brawn, and we're going to unpack that soon. But let's start with the basics. Every King Power is huge, effectively a bigger Big Bang. This watch is 48 millimeters in diameter, 17.3 millimeters thick, and from lug tip to lug tip, it's big, 59.3 millimeters. This is what's known as King Gold. It's 18 karat gold, yes, but it's also 5% platinum. So like Omega's Sedna Gold, Panerai Oro Rosso, or Rolex's Everose, this is not a red gold that will fade. It has a very high copper content to make it very red, and that redness is stable over time. You can see we have a striated, double striated strap right here. It's all rubber. It's a very substantial strap fixed to the case using screws. We've got a buckle that I'll undo just so you can see it in better detail. But the buckle internal is made of blackened titanium. It features an Hublot H on its lower chassis. Externally, King Power, so you don't forget it. Hublot Genève, truthfully more like neon, but okay, I'll roll with it. Twin trigger release, so it can't pop open accidentally. You have to press both triggers, and then you tuck the strap in and underneath, so there's no need for strap minders, and then all the excess length is hidden underneath the clasp body for a very clean look. Push down crown, but it's 100 meters water resistant. Notice that we have a striated rubber shoulder on the bezel, but that the bezel itself is made of black scratch resistant ceramic. We have polymer flanks here, also known as a type of plastic. And then we've got triggers for the date indicator as well as the GMT function. So here's your secondary time zone adjusted by a pusher, and here is your retrograding date indicator. We also have a tourbillon and a manual wind 90-hour power reserve. This watch is quite impressive. We'll do a quick lume shot just so you know exactly what you're getting into here. It does have lume, but it's the black version of Superluminova, which is not terribly luminescent. In fact, the camera is picking it up better than my eyes are. Jumping back to the world of the living, the light returns. You can see that this dial is extraordinarily detailed. Take a look at the tourbillon cage and then the bridge for the tourbillon. Look at the golden chaton cup holding the tourbillon's upper pivot. This is beautiful traditional watchmaking with finish that's as fine as you'll see on any Vacheron tourbillon or any Jaeger-LeCoultre tourbillon. This is quite impressive, and this is likely a movement by B&B Concept, which Hublot purchased right around the time this watch was made. B&B Concept had been a prolific supplier of complicated, very complicated high horology movements to Hublot, and it was going to go under during the world financial crisis. Hublot ultimately bought B&B, brought it in-house, and it became the MP or Masterpiece division. So that's likely the origin of this movement right here. And if you look, you can see that there's satination on the bridge for the tourbillon, then mirrored beveling on the edge. The same is true of the tourbillon cage itself, which is made of steel with satination on top and micro bevels. And if you look at everything from the hands to the dial itself, you'll see a combination of deeply grained solarizations, media blast, finer brushed action. Take a look at the hands. You can see how their recesses are media blast, but the tops of the hands are satinated. It really is quite subtle and beautiful, and maybe not what you expect of an Hublot watch. You can also see the ghosted Hublot logo on the underside of the crystal. It doesn't actually sit on the dial. We have that GMT hand, so you can keep track of a second time zone. You turn it all over. Big movement, there's no doubt about it, but it is reassuringly sized to fit the case. This 30-joule 90-hour manual wind is 35.6 millimeters in diameter, which is admirable, as a lot of big watches, including a lot of Hublot watches of this era, did not include movements properly sized for the case. This one is, and good on them for that. You could see the snail cam and jumper for the retrograde date indication. You can also see the underside of the tourbillon structure, and this is where we have that deeply grained snailing across all the surfaces, and it is quite lovely to look at. You can also see the keyless works that is used for setting and winding is beautifully finished, satinated and micro-beveled steel. This is number 24 of 28, so you will not see a lot. You're probably wondering how this watch wears on my wrist, and the answer is not well. My wrist is not big. I would say you need a 17 centimeter, preferably 18 centimeter circumference wrist to really make the most of this watch. But I would also say that if you've got a wrist of that size, but you've got an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Offshore budget, you're not stepping down in quality, tech, or spec by opting for this over the AP. And it's a rare instance where I will say that of an Hublot product. Taking a quick look at the case, you can see that it's beautifully faceted, beautifully preserved, likely never finished by a refinisher in its existence. This all looks factory as it's deeply sharp, well-defined, full, and symmetrical all the way around. There is lots to love here. A tourbillon, a retrograde date, a GMT, a 90-hour power reserve, horology, all of that, swimmable, and Hublot. Uncommon and unexpected. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.